Hello everyone, welcome to and welcome back to my channel Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. I do hope so much that you're all very well and healthy on this, the last day of 2022. Can you believe it? But tomorrow starts the year-long reading extravaganza that is Historathon 2023, started and hosted by Vin from Revenant Reads, including a number of wonderful co-hosts, all of which will be listed down below. So, as one of those co-hosts, I thought I would give you a little video today with some recommendations, books that I can actually recommend because I've read them. And I think it's possibly useful, and these books fit in with the first segment of this event. The event is divided into 4 segments throughout the year, each 3 months long, and our first one is Prehistory to 500 AD. So I've got 10 author recommendations for you, and maybe about 13 books that I've just thrown in there because some of these authors have more than one book that I think is worth a read. Pretty much all of them fit in exactly to this date. One or two of them may carry on beyond that date, but I don't think it matters too much. And plus, you can just take a long time to read them. There's so much around, it's hard to know where to start. But as I say, you can't go wrong with these wonderful books that fit into this very interesting period of world history. We'll start off with a particular favorite of mine. They're not in any special order, so it doesn't mean the first one's the best one or the last one's the worst or vice versa. But a particular favorite of mine is the author John Julius Norwich, and he wrote a fantastic trilogy of books on Byzantium, the little lauded Eastern Empire, Eastern Roman Empire. Because a lot of people think, once the Roman Empire left Rome, that was pretty much the end of the story. But no, it carried on for a long, long time, actually, finally ending in 1453 with the fall of Constantinople. But the first book in this series definitely fits in with our time, and it's Byzantium. You can see there, I don't know about the glare, I can't do much about it, but you can see there, Byzantium, the early centuries, and it takes us from 286 AD, so before the foundation of the Byzantine Empire, through to 802 AD, or Common Era, if that's your preferred use. It does take us 300 years after the end date, but just gives you a long time to read it. So you could take it into April if you need to, but it's fantastically readable. Norwich is a great writer, so I'd recommend this. And then, of course, as the event progresses, you might as well read between April and June. You could read the other 2 books in that series as well, as they would fit in with those lines. But I will make further videos once we head into that time period. A couple of other books that I would recommend by Norwich, or at least the second one is edited by John Julius Norwich, and that's Cities That Shaped the Ancient World. It's a collection of sketches and essays on cities from the ancient world, which is very entertaining and readable by some very noted historians and classicists, which I think you would very much enjoy. And then if you want something that you can leisurely read, you could read The Middle Sea by John Julius Norwich, which is his 1-volume history of the Mediterranean region, starting off with ancient Egypt and going all the way up to 1919. So that would pretty much see you through the year. But I don't think anyone's going to hold it against you. I think if the book starts in prehistory and goes past the 500 AD date, you're not going to be penalized, are you? Next up, we have Jerusalem, the biography by Simon Sebag Montefiore. There you go. See it there. Now, Simon Sebag Montefiore is also a great writer. I'm going to be reading The World of Family History by him. I'm going to be reading that throughout the course of the year. Again, Jerusalem will take you beyond our 500 AD date, but a large proportion of that will be set before that and up to that as well. So it's another one you can leisurely go through throughout the course of the year, and I think you will find him very entertaining. Another person you should definitely read if you're interested in ancient history is is venerable the right word? Maybe yes. Mary Beard here, and particularly her book SPQR, which is her history of ancient Rome in a one-volume book. It's very entertaining, very well written, and she is undoubtedly an expert in the field and somebody who's very entertaining with it. And she likes also to look at, she has various books as well you can check out where it doesn't just look at the ruling elites but looks at slaves or the common people. There's a book she's done on laughter in the ancient world or in ancient Rome, which is also well worth checking out. Then I can recommend 3 books by Tom Holland. One being Persian Fire, which is about the if you like, the battles between the Greeks and the Persians during our period. He also wrote a book on Rubicon, or called Rubicon rather, about ancient Rome and Julius Caesar. And I would recommend his translation of the histories by Herodotus if you are brand new to reading ancient classics and you want something that is not very daunting. A lot of people's criticism of his translation is that he's far too modern. I don't think that's a bad thing if you haven't read anything. If you haven't read Herodotus before, and if you haven't read any other ancient classics that were written by older translators, because you wouldn't know any different. And I think you'll find that a gentle, and I don't mean that in a patronizing way, but a nice, gentle introduction. Personally, I enjoyed it. Probably Aubrey de Selincourt's 1954, I think, originally translation of the histories is maybe my favorite, just because that's the one I grew up with. But I think if I had come to Herodotus first through Tom Holland, I wouldn't mind it. I read it and I enjoyed it, so I have no problem with that at all. Another fun book that I would recommend to you, it's also part of a series, and they all take place during our prehistory to 500 AD. I've only read this one, but I plan to read the others in the series as they're very quick reads. This is the first one, I think, that was published, although not the first necessarily in chronological order, which is 24 Hours in Ancient Rome, and it's by Philipmatishak, and it literally follows a day in ancient Rome, looking at all the different types of inhabitants. So it's pretty much as it says on the subtitle there, a day in the life of the people who live there. There's one I think he did as well for ancient Athens. Somebody else did one for ancient Egypt, and there's also one on ancient China as well. And I've got all of them and would love to get to them. I didn't mention them in my TBR because they're not ones that I'm necessarily prioritizing, but they are fun for me to dip in and out of, should I find myself lacking in other reading material. Next up, we have Anthony Everett's book, which I really enjoyed. He wrote it with Roddy Ashworth. I don't know if Roddy Ashworth did the illustrations or not, but it's SPQR as well, the name, but it's SPQR, a Roman miscellany. And it's just an overview, a fun look at ancient Rome in all its kind of different facets. So it's a very nice, again, general introduction that's a bit of fun, that isn't going to be too daunting if you are new to ancient history. Should ancient Egypt be your fancy, then you can't go wrong with Toby Wilkinson's The Rise and Fall of Ancient Egypt. Well worth your time. Toby Wilkinson has a number of books on ancient Egypt. I think this is an excellent starting point, as it takes you pretty much from the foundation of ancient Egyptian civilization in 3000 BC all the way up to Cleopatra. So there you go. Next up, there's a wonderful historian who, unfortunately, I've only read one of her books, but I do enjoy her very much as a television presenter and that's Bettany Hughes. Now, she was someone, when I did my top 10 popular historians, I left out because I'd only read the one book by her, and I had some kind of criteria, I can't remember now. I had to have read maybe 3 or 5 books to include them. But I am including Bettany Hughes here, and I'm including the one I read, which was The Hemlock Cup. If you can see it there, I can't make it too straight without the glare. Sorry, I don't actually have any of these. Well, I have a SPQR and by Mary Beard, and Persian Fire I have actually as paperbacks in the other room, but the rest I don't have. I only had either on ebook or they're back in the UK. But this is Bettany Hughes' The Hemlock Cup, and it's basically looking at ancient Athens, but also through telling the life and death, of course, of Socrates. So that's well worth it. You can see we've been fairly Europe-centric, or Mediterranean-centric at least, up to this point, and I thought we could move a bit to further east towards Asia. And another historian I really like, who actually I think I left off my popular historian list, and that was a gross oversight because I have read several of his books and I find him very interesting. He does write kind of general histories, but they are worth your time and they can get you interested. And they're very diverse, the subjects he chooses, ranging from Japan to China to Finland, and other places. And that's Jonathan Clements, and he wrote a really lovely book on the first emperor of China. It is not such a massive book, but it is a really good, solid and interesting introduction and read into the life of the first emperor of China. He also wrote a really nice, I probably used nice a lot, have I? I don't know. But what's wrong with that, eh? He also wrote a super biography of Confucius. Again, not a massive tome, but well worth your time, should that be of interest to you. And then finally, we have Adrian Goldsworthy, who has written a number of wonderful books on the ancient world, primarily, of course, on Rome, and his biography of the Emperor Augustus, From Revolutionary to Emperor, is also well worth your time to read and get to know if you are new, as I say, to this subject. There are, of course, countless other authors I could have mentioned. I just thought I'd go with ones that I believe would be wonderful introductions to people who perhaps are not very well acquainted with this time period and perhaps find it a bit daunting. These are authors I think are extremely readable, books that are also very readable and fun as well. I'm sure some of my other co-hosts will have could put out a completely different list. So for example, there are books by Paul Cartledge, which are also fantastic, which I haven't put on the list. I just wanted to keep it to 10. If you do have any problems or questions, or you want some recommendations, then feel free to contact myself or any of the other co-hosts. We'll be very happy to point you in the right direction. And also, once again, there is a wonderful Voxer group going on for this reading with both the hosts and subscribers or other people taking part, and there's sharing of information, ideas, discussions on different historical things, and it's really proving to be very entertaining. And if you haven't got Voxer, then I urge you to join it and either leave a comment down below here or on one of the other co-host channels, and we'll be absolutely delighted to add you. So thank you very much for watching. This is definitely my last video for 2022. So Elvis and Elvis is sleeping at the moment, which is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, because I'm getting a bit nervous about the fireworks later, of course. So maybe it would have been better if he was tired out. So we'll probably have to go out and get him tired out for this evening. So from both of us, we wish you a fantastic and happy, healthy 2023 new year, and we shall see you in that new year. Do take care, everybody. Bye bye.